Hi everyone! My name's Colleen and I'm an educator at the St. Louis Art Museum. Welcome to Wednesday. Today we're going to be talking about sharing. We'll start by reading a story together, then we'll be looking at some art from the museum's collection, and we'll end by making our own art together. Feel free to pause the video at any time if you'd like to get a closer look, if you'd like to talk about something with the people that you're with, or if you need to gather some art supplies. Are you ready? Let's get started. Today, we're going to be reading a story called Thank You, Amu. If you've joined me for Wee Wednesday before, you may know that when I read a new book, or even if it's a book that I've read before, I like to take a look at the cover to see if I can find out some things about the story before I read. Let's take a look at this cover together. What do you notice? I see a few different clues on this cover. I see a child here holding a really big blue bowl. And I also noticed that there's steam coming out of the bowl. So it's really making me wonder what's inside that bowl. Might be something hot. And it looks like their eyes are closed and that they might be taking a really big smell, big sniff to see if they can smell what's inside the bowl. What do you think the story might be about based on what we can see? Let's dive in. There's an important note for us here before we start the story that says, note to the reader, Amu, pronounced Amu, is the Igbo term for queen. Igbo is a Nigerian language, and Nigeria is a country in Africa. For the author, that term, Amu, meant grandmother to her growing up. Do you have any special names for people in your family or for friends? Thank You, Amu by Oge Mora. On the corner of First Street and Long Street, on the very top floor, Amu was cooking a thick red stew in a big fat pot for a nice evening meal. She seasoned and stirred it and took a small taste. What a delicious stew, Amu said. Tonight's dinner will surely be the best I have ever had. What's the best dinner that you've ever had? With that, Amu put down her spoon and went to read a book before supper. As the thick red stew simmered on the stove, its scrumptious scent wafted out the window and out the door, down the hall, toward the street, and around the block until... knock. I think we might need something to knock on while we're reading the story. So you can find something around your home to knock on. It could be anything. I'm going to use a block today because I have some blocks here. So we're going to knock one time right now. Are you ready? Knock. Who do you think might be there? Someone was at the door. When Amu opened it, she saw a little boy. Little boy, Amu exclaimed, what brings you to my home? I was playing with my race car down the hall when I smelled the most delicious smell. The little boy replied. What is it? Thick red stew. Stew, he sighed. That sure sounds yummy. Amu thought for a moment. She was saving her stew for dinner, but she had made quite a bit. It would not hurt to share. Would you like some? The little boy nodded. And so Amu spooned out some thick red stew from the big fat pot for her nice evening meal. Thank you, Amu, the little boy said, and went on his way. How does it feel when someone shares with you? Maybe you could talk about that with the people that you're with. With that, Amu closed the door and went back to her book. As she read, her thick red stew's scrumptious scent wafted out the window and out the door, down the hall, toward the street, and around the block until... I think someone might be at the door. We're going to knock 2 times now. Ready? Who do you think might be there? Someone was at the door. When Amu opened the door, this time she saw a police officer. Miss Police Officer, Amu explained, what brings you to my home? I was on duty down the street when I smelled the most delicious smell, Miss Police Officer replied. What is it? Thick red stew. Ah, stew, she said, and her mouth watered. That sounds mighty tasty. Amu thought for a moment. There was still enough to share. Would you like some? The police officer nodded. Once again, Amu spooned out some thick red stew from the big fat pot for her nice evening meal. Thank you, Amu, the officer said, and went on her way. And so, for the second time, Amu closed the door and went back to her book. Sure enough, as she read, her thick red stew's scrumptious scent wafted out the window and out the door, down the hall, toward the street, and around the block until... I think someone's at the door again. This time, we're going to knock 3 times. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Who do you think might be there? Again, someone was at Amu's door. This time when she opened it, she saw a hot dog vendor. Mr. Hot Dog Vendor, Amu explained, what brings you to my home? I was selling my hot dogs down the block when I smelled the most delicious smell, Mr. Hot Dog Vendor replied. What is it? Thick red stew. Ooh, stew! The vendor licked his lips. That sounds quite delectable. So Amu spooned out some thick red stew from the big fat pot for her nice evening meal. Thank you, Amu, the hot dog vendor said, and went on his way. Throughout the day, people from all across the neighborhood knocked on Amu's door. She fed a shop owner, a cab driver, a doctor, an actor, a lawyer, a dancer, a baker, an artist, a singer, an athlete, a bus driver, a construction worker, even the mayor stopped by. And each time they knocked, Amu shared. Let's see who we can find on this page that visited Amu. I see a construction worker, athlete, a doctor, a bus driver, soon the sky darkened, the streetlights brightened, and it was finally time for dinner. But when Amu opened her big fat pot of thick red stew for her nice evening meal, it was empty. How do you think that made Amu feel? Amu sniffled. There goes the best dinner I ever had. Sorry and blue, she sat at the table with her empty pot until... I think someone might be at the door. We're going to knock 5 times this time. Are you ready? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Who do you think it might be? Who could that be? Amu wondered. When she opened her door, she saw the little boy, the police officer, the hot dog vendor, the shop owner, the cab driver, the doctor, the actor, the lawyer, the dancer, the baker. Why, everyone she fed today was at her door. I'm sorry, everyone, Amu sighed. My thick red stew is all gone. I have nothing left to share. The little boy tugged at Amu's sleeve. Don't worry, Amu. We are not here to ask. We are here to give. How does it feel when you share with someone? The police officer carried in a fresh salad. The mayor entered with a roast chicken. The baker brought a collection of sweet goodies. Even the little boy presented Amu with something special in a shiny red envelope. Everyone who had knocked on Amu's door that day squeezed inside her tiny apartment, and together they ate, danced, and celebrated. While Amu's big fat pot of thick red stew was empty, her heart was full of happiness and love. What do you think the little boy gave to Amu in the envelope? Have you ever made something to thank someone? That dinner was the best she had ever had. And there's what the little boy made her. It says, "Thank you, Amu." The end. I invite you to think about your favorite part of the story and talk about that with the people that you're with. We're going to travel to the museum now to look at some works of art. Let's imagine how we might get there. Are you going to speed along on your own scooter? Are you going to go up in a hang glider? Or are you going to chug along in a tractor? Since we're talking about sharing today, let's imagine who we might be able to share our ride with. If you'd like, you can close your eyes and imagine yourself going. And woo! That was a really exciting journey, but I'm glad that we made it. In order to get ready to look at our works of art, we're going to be doing an experience I'm calling our Mindfulness Minute. Mindfulness is taking the time to slow down and really pay attention to what you're doing. For our mindfulness exercise today, we're going to be thinking about people and things that we're thankful for. So, everyone, we're going to get in a comfortable position. If you'd like, you can close your eyes. And we're going to take one big deep breath in and a big deep breath out. You can think about the sounds that you hear where you are right now. What do you hear? We can also think about the smells that we might smell where we are. What do you smell? Lastly, we can think about what does it feel to sit where we're sitting? How does it feel? Now, I want you to think about someone special in your life. Maybe that's a teacher or a grown-up, someone in your family, or a friend. And we're going to think about being thankful for them, that they're in our lives. So think about that person, and we're going to say thank you to them. We can even say it out loud. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Thank you. Now let's take another big deep breath in. Big deep breath out. Let's think about something else in our lives that we're thankful for. Do you have that thing in your mind? Let's say thank you for that thing out loud again. This time, let's say it in another language. We're going to say thank you in Spanish. Are you ready? Let's say thank you in Spanish. Gracias. Can you say that with me? Gracias. Let's take another big deep breath in. Big deep breath out. And we can think about all the other things that we're really thankful for. One more time. Big deep breath in and out. I feel much more ready to look at some really amazing works of art. We're going to look at some works of art from the museum's collection together. If you'd like, you can scroll down on the page to get a closer look at the images we'll be viewing together. Feel free to pause the video at any time to do this. Take a close look at this work of art. What do you see? What shapes and colors do you notice? This is a mask made by a Bewa artist from Burkina Faso. It's called Butterfly or Hawk Mask. What do you see on this mask that reminds you of a hawk, which is a type of bird, or a butterfly? Let's Let's look at the back of this mask to get a different view. This mask would have been tied to a person's head to be worn. Have you ever worn a mask? How did it make you feel? How do you think it would feel to wear this mask? The Bawat people know that butterflies appear right after the first rains of the rainy season. Celebrations are held in honor and thanks of the butterfly, in the hope that rain will come. Everyone shares food during the celebration, and masks, such as this one, are worn. Who do you like to share celebrations with? What do you like to celebrate? Let's see how another artist created art that was meant to be shared. Look carefully at this work of art. What do you see? Let's zoom in to get a closer look. What new details can you see now? This is a box made by a Korean artist. It's called Box with Design of Auspicious Animals, Plants, and Flowers. This box is covered in designs of animals, plants, and flowers that are symbols of good fortune in Korean culture. A symbol is an image or design that stands for something else. You probably see symbols everywhere you go. One example you might see in your neighborhood is a red stop sign that lets everyone know to stop. Let's see if we can find some of the symbols on the top of this box. Can you find 2 white birds? Good job! Can you find 2 very colorful birds? Great work! Can you find 2 dragons? Awesome job! Do you have symbols for good luck in your family? What are they? This box probably would have been given as a wedding gift and would have held someone's precious items. Do you have a favorite gift that someone has given you? How did it make you feel to receive that gift? If you'd like, you can talk about a special memory with the people that you're with. Now that we've looked at some works of art together, let's head back home so we can make our own art. So hop on your scooter, or get in that hang glider, or travel in that tractor, and make sure you bring the person that you shared your ride with. And let's head home. For our art making project today, we are going to be making our own collage cards and envelopes. So since we're talking about sharing today, I thought we could think about making artwork that we can share with someone else. And a card is a really great way to make art to share with someone. So before you start, you can think about who you might want to share your artwork with. Maybe it's someone special that you live with, that you can hand deliver it to them. Maybe it's someone that you haven't seen in a while, like a friend or a teacher that you might want to send in the mail. Or if there's someone that lives nearby, you can always deliver it to their home. And first, I'm going to show you how to make your own envelope so that you can send it in the mail if you'd like to do that. And for our project today, we're going to need a few different materials. We'll need paper. You can get paper from lots of different places. So I have some colored paper here. I have paper that I got from boxes from my recycling bin. So like this is a box from Waffles. I have pages from magazines that I ripped out. This is a piece of paper from a calendar that I have in my house when the month is over. So that's another place that you can kind of look for different paper. I'll also be using scissors, tape or glue, and some drawing material. So I'm going to use colored pencils today, but you could also use markers or crayons, or really anything will work. So to start, to make our envelope, we're going to need a sheet of paper. And it doesn't matter what kind of paper it is, it just needs to be big enough so that you can make it into an envelope. So this is a regular sheet of paper, but I'm going to need to make it into a square to make our envelope today. So you might need a grown-up's help to do this. You can measure it if you like. I don't really like measuring things, so I'm just going to kind of guess to try to make my piece of paper into a square. And you just want it to be big enough so that it will make your envelope, but it doesn't have to be any particular size. So once you have your square piece of paper, then what we're going to do is we're going to fold it to make a triangle on one side. Then we're going to open it back up, and we're going to do the same thing on the other side, just so we have some nice creases in our paper to work with. Okay, so now that we have our square with our folds, we're going to flip it this way so it's a diamond or a rhombus if you're learning about your shapes. And we're going to fold the corners on either side in towards each other. You want to make sure you really get those folds nice and creased down so that your envelope stays put. So now I have my two triangles and they're meeting in the center. Now this is going to be the top part of my envelope that opens. I'm going to fold it over so that I have my top part of my envelope. Again, nice crease, and if you need help kind of getting your paper done, you can always use something to help you fold it. So this is my glue stick, so I can just kind of press it, make sure that my folds are nice and tight. And now for the bottom part of your envelope, we're going to fold up this point of our paper all the way up to the top so that it meets the top of our crease there. And I'm going to do another fold. And I'll use my glue stick again to help me make sure that the paper is really folded down. And now here's a little bit of the tricky part, is we're going to fold this part of the triangle inside the fold. So you see my two triangles that are here, and I'm just going to tuck it under so that it stays together, and I'm going to fold it again right there. And that is going to be my envelope. So now it closes. I can put something in it. And if you'd like, you can glue these parts down so that your envelope stays put a little better. You wouldn't have to though, as long as you fasten that top part of your envelope. Then you could address it. You can have a grown-up help you do that, write the person's name and address, and you put a stamp, and then you can send it in the mail. So for my envelope, I'm gonna glue it just so that it stays put a little better. So I'll show you where you can glue it. So I'm just gonna put a little glue on the sides here so that it stays down. And now I can slip my card that I'm going to make into my envelope. So that's our envelope, so I'll put this aside until we need it. But now to make our collaged card, and collaging is a kind of art where you're really just putting a lot of different things together and attaching them with glue or tape or any other way that you can find to attach things. So first, to make our collage card, I'm going to need a base or something to collage onto. And I found this cardboard that I thought might make a nice card. So I think I'm going to cut it to make sure that it fits into my envelope because I want to send this in the mail. I'm going to make a card today for a friend that I haven't been able to see in a while. So I'm going to send mine in the mail. So this looks like it might fit. I might need to make it a little shorter. Or I could do it this way. See, with collaging, there's so many different ways to do things. I think I want my card to be a little smaller today. So I'm going to cut it. And I'm going to make these sides a little straighter. But you can collage your card onto any piece of paper. And I'm going to make a flat card today, but you can also make a card that folds like this. You might have gotten cards like birthday cards or things like that where it's a card that you open. So you can also do it that way. So here's going to be the base for my card. And I think this is the side that I'm going to write my message on. So I think I'm going to collage on top of this part to make my card. And the great thing about collage is you can kind of have a plan for what you want to do, but then as you kind of go along, you might discover that you want to do something different. So I really like these big numbers that I found on my calendar. So I think I might want to cover my card in that black and white design. I think that looks really cool. I'm just going to cut a piece of my paper here to make sure that it fits. And you can make cards for all different kinds of occasions. Maybe you want to thank someone for something nice that they did, kind of like how in the story that we read, all of those people and the little boy made a card for Amu to thank her for sharing with them. So you could do a thank you card, or you could just do a card to say hello. And I think that's going to be my card today, is just a hello card. So I kind of like that. So even though they were numbers, now that I cut it out, they kind of just look like shapes and designs, which I think is kind of fun. So I'm going to glue that on top of my cardboard. And I think for my card, I'm going to add some more colors and designs here. I'm going to look through my magazine pages and see if there's any colors that I like. Oh, I like that red color, so I think I might cut that out. That's actually in the shape of the heart. Maybe I'll keep it in the heart. And that's what's nice about magazines or newspapers, is sometimes you find pictures of things that you can just cut out and then collage right onto your card. Oh, that's kind of nice. So we've got a heart. And I do like some of these colors that I see in these pictures, so maybe I'll cut out some of these to use. So maybe I'll add some other pink shapes. Can even think about maybe getting inspired by some of the art that we saw. So I'm thinking about that butterfly mask that we saw that had all of those triangles on it. So I might want to put some triangles on my art here. And then when you have some of the things that you'd like, then you can glue them onto your card. I think I might want to adjust or change the shape of this heart a little bit. I think it's a little too big. And that's what's nice about making your own art, is you can change it. I think that's a little better. Maybe it needs a little bit more of a dip in the middle here. There we go. So now I'm going to use my glue stick, but if you have tape, you can use tape too. I'm just going to put that in the corner. And then I might add some of my pink triangles that I cut out. And just put some other designs on there. Remember, the best materials to use for this project are the ones that you already have at home. So don't worry about what you have. You can make a card out of anything. Any kind of paper you have will work. That's what I really like about collaging, is you can use so many different materials. And actually, the book that we read, the artist, the illustrator who made that book, she collaged to make those pictures in the story. So we're kind of doing similar art that the author did. So now I have some of my shapes. Now I think I might want to draw a little bit. And collaging, you can cut and paste and put things together, and you can also draw on top of it. So I like kind of this pink and red theme that I have going, so I might add some more pink and red kind of designs. I'm using colored pencils, but you can use markers or pens or crayons if you have them. I think my friend's going to be really excited to get this card in the mail. I know I love receiving mail. And that's another great place to find art making materials is in the mail. I think I've said this to you before if you've watched some of our other Wee Wednesday videos, but I now like to call junk mail treasure mail because there's so many great things you can find in the mail to make art with. So you can look in your treasure mail piles to find collage materials with. And I'm just kind of mixing with my colored pencils here to make different colors and designs. And I think here I might write, hello. And that's gonna be my card. So when I'm ready, I can write my message on the back, and then I'll be ready to put it in my envelope and send it in the mail. And that's gonna be our collage cards and envelopes. Thank you for joining me today here at Wee Wednesday. We hope you had fun. I wanted to show you some other examples of cards that I made. So here is the one that we made together. This is my collage card with my design on one side and my blank back so that you can write your message. And then I can pop it in my envelope that we made together and put an address on it and put it in the mail. And another option is to make a card without an envelope that you can hand deliver or give to someone in your home. And this is a thank you card that I made. So I used different paper that I had around the house and cut out my letters, and then I folded it on one big piece of paper so I can write my message on the inside. So there's lots of different ways to do it. We would love to see images of your artwork. Please share them with us on social media. You can use the hashtags STL Art Museum and Wee Wednesday. We hope to see you back here next week. Keep on creating. Bye.